All right, Tembegile, let's now get some of the views of the EFF. Let's bring in Sinao Tambo. He is the EFF's national spokesperson, and he joins us now via our telephone line. Sinao, just yesterday at Didi Mabuza's state funeral, we saw your leader, Julius Malema, calling for Senzo Mchunu to be fired. What do you make of the revelations coming in today that he has now been placed on a leave of absence?
Look, I think the first reaction is that we're appalled by this decision to place him on a special leave instead of removing him entirely. It reflects cowardice, it reflects defection, and it also reflects the disrespect with working people who are tired of crime in this country and have now heard that their minister of police is implicated. So instead of him being removed entirely, he has now been placed on special leave. He'll continue to draw a full salary, and will continue to withhold his influence with those who choose the conducting underworld activities with, while also having access to the ministry, because especially bringing in ministers who do not have access to the means of your work. But I think what we must all look at as South Africans is the legitimately permissible for the president to do what he has done now, which is appoint someone outside of cabinet to act as the minister of police, while there are two big ministers, why the constitution is very specific provisions.
Sinao, I must come in there and cut you off. Unfortunately, we are battling to hear some of the views. It seems as if your line seems to be a bit distorted. We'll come back to Sinao and try and re-establish that line for you. And let's go back now to our panel. We've heard now Professor Siepe and the rest of our panel, some of the views coming in from our political parties, and particularly pointing to just the interview that Tembegile has just done with the MK party spokesperson, Ntamulo Ndlela, also then saying that, well, he does not make sense of the fact that this commission of inquiry will be headed by the judiciary or a constitutional court judge, something that he says that, well, these people have been implicated by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi.
Well, one of the things that he says that there should be disclosures of the activities of the judges so that whoever is appointed is somebody with credibility. So one does not know whether there's something about Madlanga that is problematic. But we must also understand that there have been also decisions that the judiciary has made. And if you listen to the former Chief Justice, he says if decisions are made and they don't make sense to ordinary people, then you should worry, because the judiciary don't exist, or the people don't exist for the judiciary. The judiciary exists for the people. So this is why we have what you call justice must be seen to be done. And we also have CR17 files, which have also been sealed. So we don't know who else appears there. So the concern about the judiciary is not something that you can throw out. But at the moment, the judiciary that deals with evidence all the time, they seem to be the best placed. But we must also, if we accept that the judiciary can be captured, and when I say that, I'm not saying it as a member. The Chief Justice, former Chief Justice, has said as much, but more as a way of acknowledging that the judges are also ordinary people, so they can be influenced. But we need to have an assurance that whoever is chosen is a person who is also beyond reproach. And we can't say that, but I have nothing that I've seen with regard to the judge chosen. But at the same time, to leave it also to Parliament and say the political parties are going to be doing that, we must also understand that there's also political posturing. So we need people with an incisive mind and people who are used to looking at the evidence. And the fact that parties in Parliament also look at the political interest and vote according to political interest is also a major concern. But as I said, the issue of leave of absence is still a matter that the parties must deal with. But I also agree that if the minister falls short, the president can still fire that minister. And at the moment, what the president has done leaves more questions to say, but Mr. President, what had prevented you? Especially given that your minister, but as I said, he has to be very careful that if you say you also lied, because we know as a matter of fact that he gave two contradicting statements and they can't be both correct, one to Parliament and which led to parties opening a case against him. The president could have said, no, you go. But at the same time, they could actually say, Mr. President, how clean are you?
Prof, we have to now go back again, once again, to Sinao Tambo from the EFF. Let's try and get the spokesperson, once again, of the EFF to give us his insights in terms of that address from the President. Sinao, what are the EFF's thoughts tonight following that briefing by the President? Just yesterday, I repeat again, that your leader called for the Minister of Police to be fired.
Yes, look, we think it's disrespectful to the people of South Africa that instead of removing him entirely, that the minister has been placed on special leave, meaning that he will continue to draw the salary of a cabinet minister and that he will continue to hold the strength that he holds, both as a person who is in cabinet, but also as someone who's now been accused of having ties with the underworld to intimidate whistleblowers, who include now Lieutenant General Ramaphosa. So I think it's disrespectful to South Africans who are victims of vicious levels of crime. But I think one of the legislative things we must look into is whether the President is acting lawfully and in line with the Constitution. So Section 91 of the Constitution of South Africa allows for the provision that the President may appoint 2 ministers outside of members of Parliament. But also Section 98 also makes the provision that the minister may assign the duties of a minister if a minister is deemed incapable of executing those duties to a sitting minister for that to be taken forward. So the President has now appointed someone who's both outside of Parliament but also both outside of Cabinet to execute the duties of the Minister of Police. Now, in our view, this is not in line with what the Constitution allows him to do. So there needs to be a level of scrutiny there. So outside of the politically disrespectful posture and cowardice that the President has taken with regard to acting on a criminal syndicate, he has possibly acted outside of the provisions of the Constitution of South Africa, and that is something that we want to zoom into. We get the fact that there's been establishment of a commission of inquiry. You want to report within 6 months, it should last a period of 1 year. But during this period, the taxpayer is going to pay the salary of Senzom School, and that is utter disrespect.
Many people, once again, also questioning the issue around a commission of inquiry, saying South Africans are really tired of seeing, investigations of this nature take place, particularly with the time frame that it takes. What do you make of the fact that we will be having another commission of inquiry?
Look, the EFF has been raising that there's a level of establishment of commission of inquiry, trust teams, presidential envoys by the President of South Africa, which define his ineffective legacy as the president of this country. But I think the ineffectiveness does not lie in the fact that commissions of inquiry themselves are flawed as a methodology, but the fact that the sitting government does not take recommendations and implement them. So when the government that has a Zondo commission that cost this country 1 billion and has not effected any arrest on the basis of those recommendations, commissions of inquiries have their basis doubted. When a government that has established an envoy to stop corruption, an envoy to increase investment, a task team to stop crime, a task team to stop GBV, and none of these institutions or special envoys or task teams have been effective or any of their recommendations have yielded any results, then such mechanisms lose value. So that is the value loss that is happening in this country currently as it relates to commissions of inquiry. So we understand the fact that there needs to be inquiry into the allegations against them, including the allegations of the capture of the police force in this country by a criminal syndicate. But when it is being done by a government that consistently ignores the recommendations of the very inquiries they establish, then they begin to lose value.
All right, Sinao, thank you so much for your time. Of course, that is the EFF Sinao Tambo there, just giving us his insight. Also, they're questioning the issue around commissions of inquiry and the hefty price tag that it comes with. Of course, spending 1 billion rand for the Zondo Commission. Also questioning, the action thereof being taken after a commission of inquiry.